Welcome to the Pharsyde channel. This is our series on business owner challenges. Today I am talking to Charles Hsuan. Charles, thank you so much for joining us. I'm really looking forward to hearing from you today.
Tamron, the pleasure is all mine. And you were previously on my podcast. So I'm very, very honored and excited that today I get to share my side of the story with your listeners.
Yes, me too. I think it's going to be a really interesting story. I'd actually love you to start with telling my listeners what it is you do. What problem do you solve for everyone listening?
What problem do I solve? That is an excellent question, and that is one of the questions I like to work with the client on. So to put it in a simple and I call it the microscript way, is two scenarios. Normally, when you go to any social events, network events, birthdays, the question that is bound to come up is, Tamron, so what do you do? Now, 90% of the people say, I'm an accountant or I'm account manager, advertising, and there's the awkward silence, and it's not very inspiring. It doesn't lead to more prompting. Or the scenario two is when you go to a presentation, 90% of the time, again, is what I call pitch up and throw up. They literally just show you slide after slide and did that PowerPoint, again, not very inspiring. So what I do differently is I make sure that doesn't happen to you. And the tool that I use is using stories to sell. I call it story selling, not storytelling, but story selling. So the difference is we use the techniques in a story to help you sell your sales story in terms of you can use it in a pitch, in a presentation, negotiation, overcoming objections. And the beauty about that is instead of you pushing a message, after you share your story, people will be like, Tamron, tell me a little bit more. I want a little bit more. Tell me how we can work together. So you're not pushing anymore. They're coming to you. And in that process, you get to position yourself as an expert in the industry.
I love that, Charles. I think that's so valuable because, as you say, so many people actually don't even know how to answer the question of what do you do. They're either very bland or they waffle or they never actually properly explain it. So
You know what I have
storytelling.
what I have noticed, this is just my observation on that, is people don't practice. They don't
Mm,
practice. They don't practice it at all. I'll never forget that I was at a network event years ago. I think this was 2018 or 2019. And there were at least 20, 30 of business owners there. And one of what the speaker did was, or what the MC did at the time is, I want each and every one of you to go around the room in 30 seconds just to tell each other what you do. And I watched everybody, and 90% of them, first of all, they were blabbering on, was very vague. They went over time, and it
mm.
wasn't very concise. But because I kind of expect that happening at a network event, I practiced. I made sure I did mine in 25 seconds. So I still had time to breathe. And I remember a few of them came to me afterwards. Oh, wow, you came across so confident. It was so concise. I'm like, because I practiced. I
Yes.
literally practiced it, and I timed myself to see how those were, because this is bound to happen. And the thing is, you don't want to get caught at a place where there's somebody that's very, very important that you're trying to get to know. You know who they are, but they don't know who you are, and you blow it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if you blow that 30 seconds, then they'll just be, okay, Cameron, lovely meeting you. I'll see you after the event. And then that's it. It's
Mm,
gone.
mm, mm,
So the what I wanted to share is there's a story called The Pie Man and the Expert. Now, imagine the pie man. He is standing at an event, the one that you want to go to, Tamara. So let's say you want to go to an event that you've been waiting for a long time, and the speaker is just like, wow. And you queuing, you're standing there for 15 minutes, 20 minutes. And here comes this pie man on a cold winter's day selling fresh baked pies. He goes to every single person in the queue and say, would you like to buy a pie? Would you like to buy a pie? Would you like to buy a pie? And by sheer volume, he will make a sale because he asks every single person. However, who are you actually there for? You are queuing for the expert.
mm.
Two different approaches. So I normally ask the client, do you want to be the pieman or do you want to be the expert? And they say pieman. I say, excellent. Then we can work together. So that is the different way of selling.
That's it's a really good viewpoint because I find I like the idea of practicing your story because I think that is something very few business owners think of. We know what we
Mm.
do. We do it well. We know how to know how to actually do our service or make our product, but we're not really focused on explaining it to other people. We already know what we do. And we kind of, I don't know, especially in the accounting profession, I think we have this opinion that people come to us because they need the service. So they already know what we do. They're going to come to an accountant because they want accounting services. But there are people out there who maybe they have an accountant already and you're a better one, or they don't have an accountant because they haven't actually discovered that they need one, which they do, but they don't notice it yet. And how are you going to tell those people that you're the person they should be coming to?
That's an
And that's
excellent. That's an excellent observation. And this is, and to your point, accountant. There are how many accountants out there, right? Every single person that is a CA or a bookkeeper can essentially do the same job.
Mhm.
So what makes you different to the next person? Now, most of the people will say, well, I've been in the business for 15 years. I've got great service. It's valuable. I get to know you, blah, blah, blah. Here are my certificates. But so what?
Mm.
The key thing that they miss out of explaining is the first question that you ask, what problem are you solving for people? So let me give two scenarios. And I can relate to this because do you ever get back pain?
Yes.
From sore neck from sitting too long, that
Mhm. Mhm.
unfortunately in front of laptop, right? So we all have that. So imagine there are two chiros and you're at a birth, let's say you're at a social event and you're talking about the situation. And the first chiro says to you, hey, Tamron, I heard your situation. And why don't you come and see me on Monday? Because I graduated #1 in the class. I've got the best chiropractor machines and my clients love me. Come and see me. Or chiropractor 2 is, hey, Tamron, I overheard the conversation and I heard that around 1 o'clock in the afternoon, your neck start tensing because you forgot to take a break and the neck starts tensing, the shoulder starts tensing, even the bum starts hurting. I think I can help you with that. Why don't you come on Monday? Why don't you come through on Monday and let me see what I can do? Which one would you rather go to?
Yeah, probably the one that paid attention.
Exactly, because that person spoke to your pain. The first chiro could be just as good, but it's the way the second one communicated. And the beauty about the story selling is we are all storytellers by nature. If you just look at kids, they'll come up with the wildest stories. But unfortunately, once you get to school level, that thing gets totally killed because it's either the right answer or the wrong answer in the test.
Mm.
So you learned, oh, there's only one right answer. You don't practice that anymore. And another thing I've noticed, I ask people when I'm doing a keynote as an example, how many of you have received sales training before running your own business? 99% of them, never.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
many of you have thought about sales as a career? Again, 9 out of 10 says no. So if you never thought about sales as a career, if you've never been told or taught how to sell, how are you supposed to sell?
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised because, and also I've noticed that a lot of times business owners, they feel like product training is the same as sales training. I
Mm-hmm.
noticed that when I was interviewing people, I thought, oh yeah, we train them on product and product. Yes, product knowledge and sales knowledge is two different things. So I think that's where the misalignment comes in.
Yeah, it's so true. Hey, you can know your product and you need to know your product to sell it. You need to know
Mhm,
it, but
mhm.
that's not the same thing as reaching that person and saying you need this product so that they want to buy it.
Exactly. And that's a great point. I just feel it's a pity that we should actually teach how to sell in school. We definitely should, because you had to sell. It doesn't matter if you run a business or no, you have to sell yourself. Well, that comes sounds wrong, but it is. You have to sell and
It's
promote
true.
yourself to get a job in the first place.
Mm.
Because every single person that graduated in your class have the same qualifications. So what will make you stand out? It's by the way you communicate. And I've noticed this, like if you interview somebody for a job position, the question they will ask you is, tell me a bit more about yourself. What they are listening is not about, I grew up in Cape Town and I was the team captain, I had 5 dogs. That's not what they want to hear. What they want to hear is, how are you going to be an asset for that company, for
Yeah.
that role? That's what they actually want. And it took me years to finally click, because nobody told you that's what they're actually asking for. They always ask you, tell me about yourself. And unfortunately, I made that mistakes in the past.
Yeah. Yeah. We all have, haven't we? In fact, that's probably the most dreaded question of a job interview. Everyone hates that question. Tell me about yourself.
But it comes up over and over again because it's a good way. You can see who has practice, who has research, who can think on their feet. One of my favorite ways of let's say if I'm interviewing somebody for a position in a sales role, I will, because a lot of questions you can prep for. There's a lot
Mm.
of stuff you can Google online. I'll throw a curveball as an example. Tamara, what's your favorite swear word? And use it in a sentence.
Oh, that's fantastic. I love it.
And what that does is either the person will freeze, then you know, wait a minute, they're not good at thinking on their feet, which you
Mm-hmm.
do need to do, or they're too conservative, or they will roll with it. Now, these are things you can't prepare for. So I like to ask people questions just to see how they. So try that next time if you interview someone.
I
There's no right
will.
or wrong
Thank
answer. It's
you.
just like see how they think.
Yeah, and that definitely is going to make them take a double take because very few people are going to ask about your favorite swear word in an interview.
Exactly, exactly.
I love that. That's wonderful. So, Charles, this is our Business Owner Challenges series. What has been your biggest challenge in building your own business?
Well, I will summarize it in 3 things. The first thing is my first year of starting my business, I didn't have a product. And it's such a rookie era. I didn't have a product. I positioned myself as a digital strategist because I worked in advertising industry for 4 years before I went solo, and I was very, very good at it. Generating revenue. I was a top performer of the year multiple times. So I was very good at what I did. So I thought that, oh, I was promoting digital strategy. So I was selling that. But then I noticed when I started working with business owners is when I was working for the company, I mean, advertising is expensive. So if you can afford to spend on a billboard or in a print media, you need to have budget. And these companies normally will have ad agencies. In the ad agencies, there are strategists, media buyers, media planners, so forth and so forth and so forth. But when you work with a business owner, they expect you to do all three. A
Mm.
designer, buy ad. I'm like, whoa, that's not my niche. And that took about a year. And at the same time, I was clocking up. I burned through my savings, so that was my other challenge. I saved for 3 months instead of, if I look back, I will save for at least 6 months because it took me 7 months to get my first client,
Sure,
and
yeah.
I started racking up credit card debt. It was like over 100,000. And it took me like 3 years to pay off. So that was a very, very tough lesson I learned right in the beginning. Until I came across this person, and funny enough, I was doing an interview. His name is Douglas, and he's a very well-known South African author. And I was asking him, "Hey, what do you think of my website? And what yeah, what's your take on it?" And he asked me the question. So in the beginning, it was stories. I tell people how to tell their story. He said, "Okay, but what is the end goal?" And then I told him this. He said, "No, no, no, but what about the end? What is the actual end goal?" I was like, to generate more revenue, to make more sales." He says, and then that's when he says, "Aha." When he said that, I clicked. Like I wasn't selling stories, I was actually teaching people how to sell. Because when I was working advertising, I was good at selling. The advertising space was just a product.
Yes.
And it took me over a year to click. and rack up debts and pay my freaking school fees. And after that, I'm like, wait a minute, you're darn right. I'm good at selling. That's why I was able to generate revenue. And that's when I started to craft material, craft content, because I took a lot of notes when I was working in sales. Some of my philosophy, my framework, and I created it into a program. And then I had the actual product. Because nobody's just gonna hire you just to do it, just to talk.
Yeah.
So that was the greatest challenge that I learned in my first year. Have an actual product. And then the second thing is test the product. So what I did was, I'm very grateful that I had a group of network. Some of them are friends, some of them are business associates. So when I created my first workshop, I used them to give feedback. And I said, look, if you come here for 2 hours to go through this material with me, I'll buy all of you guys lunch. They were happy to do that. So I got to refine little things, and they gave feedback. That was the beginning of how things started to change in the second year. Well, the first year I call it ground zero because it was just a blur. So the first year I call it ground zero, and so the first year, official year, things started to change.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. And tell me, Charles, you run your business alone?
When you say alone, I don't think anybody runs their business alone per se. So I do have help. So what I mean by that is I don't work with any full-time staff, but I work with a lot of freelancers. I have designers, proofreaders, accountants, podcast producers, all those people that I work with, but none of them, they all run their own business. So when I have certain things, I go to them. And the reason for that is I can spend time trying to design something, but I'd rather let a professional do it. They can do it
Yes.
faster and better, and I'm happy to pay them. So I can spend my most precious commodity, which is my time, to master my craft instead of trying to master a web design.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So
Wonderful.
does that answer your question?
Yes. Yeah. Well, that was because my next question is, if you're not running with a partner or a on-site team, how do you keep yourself motivated? Where do you go for support and encouragement? Because things do go down,
You
up and
know what?
down.
I'm very, very, very grateful that I have a group of mentors around me, and they're all business owners. So we have weekly, monthly chats, sometimes for coffee, to bounce off things. And these are the people that I can be totally open with, because from chatting to them, they're very open with their struggles. Like for example, I told you, like I racked up 100,000 credit card debts when I started my business. It was scary. My cholesterol was through the roof. Um, I thought that, oh my gosh, I'm going to be bankrupt. I've been through my savings. I sold anything and everything I can sell. I had even sold my Kruger Rand gold coin, just to get by. And also my wife, I must say that my wife, because she's a business owner herself. I mean, you interviewed her before, Dominique. So we are each other's best support and best friend. And there are dark days. There are days that it gets tough, and then she will ask me questions and I'll ask her questions, and that's how we get through it.
That's wonderful. It's important to have that support structure. Hey, whether it's your wife or your friendship group or your mentoring group. I think that was one of the things I did wrong right in the beginning is I'm a very independent person. I try to do a lot of things alone, but it's a terrible idea as a business owner to try to do everything alone.
And you know what, it's definitely, I think some people might see it as weakness to look for help, but for me, I don't think that's weakness at all, because no man is an island. Even the people that proclaim to be self-made, I don't think they meant what they said, in terms
Mm,
of, if you build a multi-billion, you had help along the way, accountants, lawyers, attorneys. You probably didn't get funded. That's probably what you meant, or got like inheritance, but you had a team helping you. There's
yeah.
no way you could do this on your own. And the other thing I remind myself of, I remember a guy called Alan Reyes. Alan Reyes. He runs a
Hmm.
company called
Hmm.
Reyes Corp. Yes. So I interviewed him before, and I was asking him that, and he said something about, it's called the shift question. So what that means is, let's say Cameron, you run a business, and because South African zone time, you work from 8 to 5 as an example. But something happened, you can only work from 5 until 9 at night. What would you do? And you might say, okay, I might have to service international clients, or I might have to create different things or systems and processes. The next question will be like, why aren't you doing that right now then? So it's called shift questions. So the point of that is, until you run out of questions to ask, keep going. And I thought that was brilliant.
It is brilliant, yes.
Right? So you take the emotion out of it. Like, screw the emotion. Of course, there's ups and downs, but have I explored everything? Have I tried international markets? Have I tried small group coaching? Have I tried Keynote? Have I tried this? Have I tried that? Not all of them. So keep on trying until you exhausted everything. Then, okay, I gave it a good run. Time to pack my bags.
That's excellent advice. I know Alon. He has a wonderful Race Corp is a wonderful company helping small businesses and helping new entrepreneurs. And
No, I have a lot of respect for Elon, man. I have a lot of respect for Elon.
Yeah, if anyone watching, I would actually recommend you look him up and follow him on social media, because he drops gold on social media.
No, absolutely. And the funny thing is, I remember when I was interviewing him, he mentioned that when he first started his business, he was like halfway in, halfway out. He was going for interviews, and he went about 5, and nobody hired him. He said, well, they must be assholes for not hiring him. And then he realized, no, he was an arsehole. He was unemployable. And I said to him that it's funny because I went through the same thing. I was also like half, trying to get like a day job, maybe a half-day job to support. And I'm very grateful none of them hired me, because otherwise I wouldn't be here today.
Yeah.
So it all worked out.
It's amazing how it does work out, hey, sometimes.
Yeah, look, but like I said, it's I just feel like there's a great resource I can share with your listeners. One of the lady, her name is called Dory Clark. Another guy, his name is called Dave Stahoviak, and those are like my distance mentors. And they've been in the business for over 10 over 10 years. That I think both of them publish articles on Harvard Business Review, Forbes, and publish books, so they know what they're talking about. And one of the things that they said, and I think I heard it this year, and maybe you can comment on that, is the first 3 years you probably won't see a lot of things happening. It's like, what's going on? It's like you plant a seed and you water it, and every day you're just standing above the ground, like, come on, I gave you fertilizer, I gave you water, I gave you sun. 7 days a week I'm here. Grow something.
Yes.
But then magically, the 4th year, and they both said that the problem that they see a lot is people give up too easily. When they said that if I think back my first 3 years, it was like that. You were seeing little bursts, but it's not like, but this is my 4th year. I can see the shoots start coming out.
Yes.
And it was so true.
Well, that would lead me to a question of, do you think that entrepreneurship suits a specific type of person? Do you think there are specific character traits that a person needs to be a business owner? Or do you think that anyone can be a business owner and work on their character traits?
You know, there's been lots talk about it. The same question, like, are entrepreneurs born or made? Which I always find that quite a strange question. Every entrepreneur was born somewhere down the line, right? I mean that, right? It's like that's just a strange statement. But in terms of character traits, from the people that I have seen, one trait that they do have is perseverance. Perseverance, and I don't know if you can teach that. I don't know if you can teach somebody to persevere. And when it comes to motivation, this is just what I have seen for being in the sales industry since 2004, is you either motivated or you're not. I have yet to see, so I'm not saying never, I have yet to see somebody that is a bottom performer all of a sudden became the star. I have yet to see that. So you have to be self-made, or let's look at the Olympic athletes. Let's say Michael Phelps or Usain Bolt. Do you think their coach need to stand next to the bed and wake them up with an alarm every day to go to practice?
No.
No, because they are motivated themselves. So you need to have motivation and perseverance. Not motivation. You need to have perseverance because times will get tough. The other things I think you can learn, like introvert versus extrovert, that doesn't really matter. I've seen both. I've seen people that they know that they are the technicians within the company, so they will hire somebody else to do other stuff, so they can be like the architect behind it. As an example, let's say if you own a restaurant, you are a chef by trade, you know how to cook food, but your niche is not to market, your niche is not to decor, your niche is not to lay the table, your niche is to make delicious food.
Yes,
So you
yeah.
might have one element of making that signature dish, but you will need help from other people, even the way you communicate. So I think from all the people I've interviewed so far, which is probably approaching 90 now, that's the one common trait I've seen is perseverance. And I really don't know if you can teach perseverance or not. I don't know.
Well, interesting. I've been reading a book and I haven't finished yet, so I can't give you a full opinion on that.
Grit? Is it
But it's,
grit?
yep, yep,
Ah,
by
yes.
Angela
Angela
Duckworth.
Duckworth.
Oh, it's an amazing book.
Yeah, she is there. Look, I didn't know she was Asian until I saw. I mean, it makes sense because she's married to somebody else, hence the surname Duckworth. But I can relate to some of the stuff that she says because I'm from Taiwan. Her parents are from China, but similar roots, so I can understand and relate to what she went through as a child. Um, so yeah, definitely a grit, perseverance. I
Yeah.
suppose it's interchangeable in a way.
Grit is an amazing book. Yeah, and she's it's not that you can teach grit, but that or perseverance, but you can increase it. I found that interesting. It's something
Um,
you
mm,
can develop.
you can develop, and that's why I say no man is an island. So let me give you an example. In my the I go through it at least once or twice a year, like Tamron, like, oh my gosh, this is too hard. You know, she's just gonna get a job at least once or twice a year. It just happened. And I've noticed most of the time is towards the end of the year because
Yes.
people are tired.
Yes.
December, tired. Oh, my friends are getting 13th check. They're going on holiday, and where's my 13th check? And that's when you start emotions and it starts entering your head. Um, so it does happen. It does happen once or twice. Um, yeah, there will definitely be dark days, but perseverance. It's important to have a supporting group. That's why I
Mm.
said no man is an island. So if I didn't have my wife, I could easily crumble.
Yes.
So you're right in terms of it can be shaped if you have a good support structure. Like if every single person around you are telling you, Tamron, it's time to pack up, it's not worth it. The doubts will start to creep in.
Yes. Yes,
Yeah,
definitely, for sure. Whereas if they're all telling you, don't worry, it's just a tough patch and you can get through it, then you generally do.
exactly, exactly. That's why I say self-made man. I don't know about that.
Yeah, I'm in full agreement. Full agreement. So my last question to you, Charles, is what piece of life-changing advice would you give your younger self if you were able to?
I'll say two things is well, actually three things. So the first thing is I was born with ADHD. I was diagnosed at the age of 5 or 6, and I was looking at my friend's kids, and that kid is 6 years old. I'm like, geez, that's really young. And I was on Ritalins from then until the age of 16, so it's about 10 years. And I was looking at a kid, I'm like, kid, you're so young, and I cannot imagine asking you to take a pill every day.
Mm.
So because of that, I struggled through school. So I was the bad Asian, meaning that I wasn't the one getting colors for maths and science, and I got kit packed 2 grades. So
Sure.
I finished 1 year. Yeah, I know it's very embarrassing, but I've learned to embrace it and then see it as my superpower. So I would tell my younger self that everything will be okay.
Mm.
Everything will be okay. Don't let what the teachers say, because I had teachers telling me that, you're not academically good. Go learn something with your hands, some
Mm.
trade. Forget about going to varsity. Scrap that out. I mean, I had a career guidance counselor told me that, and that haunted me for years. So I'll tell my
Mm.
younger self, like, embrace your ADHD. Let that be your superpower. The second thing is, when I first started my business, I should have started it off as a side hustle. For example, I could have started my podcast, my YouTube on the side. It's not conflicting to I'm working sales. I can create. There's nothing wrong with that. So you get to practice. You get to put in reps, and you get to see if you are getting any bites for people to say, "Hey, Charles, I saw that. Would you come and help me?" Then I still have my full-time job. So build up that, get the reps in before you jump in. And then the last thing is save up at least 6 months.
Yeah.
3 months is too soon, eh?
Mm.
I mean, even a year if you can, because that 3 months stretch to 5 months. So that
Mm-hmm.
6 months, if you cut your expenses, can stretch over a year. So it
Mm-hmm.
just takes the unnecessary stress away.
Yes,
So
100%.
that
I can
that
tell you most businesses break even at 18 months.
so the first 18 months they were just burning, burning, burning. Is it because they didn't save?
It's just because it's exactly what you were talking about earlier about all that effort, but you're not seeing any growth yet. It takes time. It takes time for that effort that you're putting in and that building and that product creation and that selling and that trust building that you're doing. It takes time for it to bear fruit. So unless you are really fortunate, most businesses will break even at 18 months.
So what happens after they break 18 months? What happens then?
You begin to make profit if you continue to run it correctly anyway.
That is good to know for all the listeners out there. That's good to know. 18 months then. So yeah, that will basically for the three things I'll tell my younger self.
That's good advice, and especially with the ADHD, I think I find my husband is ADD, and I've also seen how people who've received those diagnoses, they doubt themselves, or they because of things said to them in the past. And my experience is people with something like ADD or dyslexia or anything like that, those things, exactly what you said, is embrace it as a superpower, because that is an indication that you think differently to the rest of the
And
world.
you know what? There's a documentary that I've been that I watched, and I highly recommend it for your husband to watch, and or any person with a child, brother, sister, mother, or him or herself have it. It's called The Disruptors, and it's a documentary about ADHD and all those kids. And when I watched it, it was very comforting to know some of the very, very well-known people had it. For example, Einstein, Walt Disney, Van Gogh, Einstein, Dale Carnegie. And one of the doctors said inside that so there's a lot of physicians that comment, so it's not like hearsay. They've done research on it. One of the guys' name is Ned Hallowell. Hallowell. I think that's how you pronounce it. He wrote a book called ADHD 2.0, and he makes 3 points. Like, imagine it as like a triangle. Normally, you will describe somebody with ADHD or ADD. They easily distracted,
Mm-hmm.
they are impulsive, and they are hyperactive. But the flip side of this of being distracted is curiosity. Hey,
Mm-hmm.
what's happening there? Hey,
Mm-hmm.
what's going on here? It's curiosity. The opposite side of impulsiveness is unplanned creativity. You can discover penicillin by accident.
Yep.
And the hyperactiveness, when you get to my age, it's called energy. So I appreciate it. So
Yes.
that's that. But when I heard him describe that, I'm like, yeah, damn right, that's my superpower.
100%, yes. And I find as well that people who have what do they call a neuro-divergent diagnosis of some sort. Their problem-solving ability is phenomenal. Your ability, because I suppose because you can't concentrate or because you battle to concentrate, you also have a way of looking at things from 1,000 viewpoints. You're coming up with ideas that other people will never come up with because they choose one and they focus on it.
It's a superpower. I mean, my wife always tell me, like, I'm not a handyman by trade, but she said to me, you come up with the most genius idea to do something. So silly example. So let's say if we eat pizza, and for me, leftover pizza is the best. So, but I don't want to spend the time and all the electricity to heat up 2 slices with a freaking oven. So what do? I use a toaster.
How do you use a toaster?
Pizza. So what I do is, so the toaster, right? Because this is a video, so people can see. You don't put it in like this, sideways. You just use the heat.
Perfect.
And I know, and the bottom is nice and crisp. So I microwave it for a little bit so the top is soft, and now the bottom is crispy. Again, she's like, where do you come up with that? I'm like, I like solving problems. And I've been doing that for years. Eh?
Yeah, you see.
I use my toaster to heat up my pizza, and it's like crisp.
Perfect. Perfect pizza.
Yeah. So that's just a silly example of how our brain works. We like to solve problems in different ways.
Yeah, it's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing, Charles. I really appreciate it. Your personal and your business tips were excellent. So thank you so much. I'm sure it was a huge amount of value to the people who are watching. If someone watching would like some help with their storytelling, how can they contact you?
Okay, they can go on to flyingkite.co.za, flyingkite.co.za, and when they go on to Flying Kite, there's the YouTube channel where I share storytelling tips. There's also a podcast called Candid Conversations that's available on seven different platforms: Spotify, Google, iTunes, basically all the platforms that don't suck. It's on there. And if they go to Flying Kite, there's also resources for download. There's 2 free ebooks. And of course, they can connect with me on LinkedIn.
Fantastic. Thank you. I'm going to put your Flying Kite address and your LinkedIn address below this video. And hopefully people will reach out to you because this is the second time we've chatted, and I know that you are full of amazing ideas and you will definitely be able to help them in rewriting the story of what they do. So thank you so much, Charles.
Cameron, it's an absolute pleasure. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.